Welcome to another episode of OG55. We got the Italiano, Mr. Theme Park Wizard, and Slimer in the house. We're talking Epic Universe. We're talking FanFest nights over in Hollywood. It's an all universal show.
Hey, Doc, we better back up. We don't have enough road to get up to 88.
But we got plenty of road to get to 55. Welcome aboard, everybody, to this all-universal show today. I want to introduce my fantastic panel. I'll start with you, George, with your 6-day beard. How are you doing today, sir?
and thank you for remembering which day it is. Yes, it is day 6. So,
day 6. Looking sharp, looking sharp. Where can everybody find you on social media, sir?
Absolutely. You can find me on X, formerly known as Twitter, at Disney George. You can also find me on Instagram, Threads, and Blue Sky under the Disney Italiano. And of course, you can find me right here on my home base on Orange Grove 55 with Citrus Corner. Well, that's sweet, juicy, but sometimes sticky Disney news and info. And you can also check out my new YouTube channel, Citrico Central, sister channel to Orange Grove 55.
There he is. And then we have Mr. Theme Park Wizard, who is very, very close to 6,000 subs
We're
here on
so
YouTube.
Close.
Yes. How many?
Oh, right now we're 7 away. 7. So
hit that sub button right now. Go to his channel.
Subscribe.
Sub it.
Exactly.
Please listen to Slimer. Please. Because we're so close. 6,000.
We're 7 away. If you're watching this right now and you're not subscribed to Theme Park Wizard, stop what you're doing and go ahead and check him out on YouTube and give him a subscribe. Fantastic theme park content. Fantastic.
And if you're a member of OG55 and you don't subscribe, OG will take away your membership. So just be careful.
This is very, very true. This is very, very true. Mr. Theme Park Wizard, if you can let everybody at home know where they can find you on social media, sir.
You can find me on X, Twitter, Blue Sky, and on YouTube. And then you can book your trips to Epic Universe or Halloween Horror Nights or anything, a Disney cruise with me. And you can DM me on any social media and I'll help you out with a free quote. Free.
There he is. There he is. He helped me get my FanFest tickets. So absolutely check it out. He helped our friend Jay Shear. So yeah, definitely reach out to Wizard. I will be linking all that info in the description down below. Slimer, welcome back, sir. How you doing, brother?
I'm doing great. OG George, good to see you guys. It's like I haven't seen you guys in 24 hours.
Yeah, pretty much. Absolutely. Where can everybody find you on social media?
You guys can find me on X at SlimeSquare84, and you can find me right here on Orange Grove 55.
There he is. Yep. I think the last time we talked, we were talking about Busch Gardens, right?
the bushiest of the gardens, in fact.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. So everybody, let's talk. First, we're going to talk about Epic Universe, right? Slimer, you're the only one amongst us that has been there as of yet. George will be going there very shortly. I think Wizard, you're going to wait a little while, right? You're getting married soon, so you're going to wait a little while before you hit Epic.
Yes, probably January or February of next year.
Well, he is going to Epic Universe. It's called a marriage. That is an Epic Universe.
That's right.
That's
right.
Mine was called Dark Universe.
I'm hoping mine's more like the Isle of Burke. We can fly away together.
Yeah, that's exactly what it'll be. It'll be exactly that.
The Isle of Burke. So Slimer, let's dive into Epic. So we did a video, and not everyone watches every video. So I like to kind of reiterate sometimes. What were your overall thoughts of this park?
I mean, Epic is it's gorgeous. It's aesthetically brilliant. The food is a big departure away from what you would typically get at Universal Studios Park. I feel like that was a big jump. It was expensive. You could tell that they spared no expense theming the lands, theming the attractions. It is a new take on just about every way to do theme parking for the most part, while reincorporating a lot of maybe some old things that maybe have been lost along the ways due through, just the evolution of theme parking in general. I felt like every land was stronger than the other. But at the same time, there's no weak lands either, if that makes any sense. And once you go there, I think you guys know what I mean. But I think Epic's a great park. It is a really, really solid foundation for what is already, in my opinion, one of the more original parks that have ever been designed. But there is still a couple of things that I think that are going to be necessary for that park to be functional during the summer times, especially when it's raining, for example. And a lot of those have to do with like additions of indoor rides. Because I was actually looking at, and this isn't like a knock on the park, for example. I mean, this is a brand new theme park, so there's really not much you can say in terms of negativity when it comes to brand new parks, because hey, you got to start somewhere, right? But when it comes to indoor attractions, it does have some of the greatest indoor attractions. I mean, I don't think anybody is trying to say that this place doesn't have some of the most genius and inventive and best rides ever made, but there is a lack of indoor rides that people can go and occupy during inclement weather.
And Slimer, may I speak to that comment real quick? Because I actually know some fun facts. Or someone's told me a fun fact today. Did you know, and this is a indoor rides, Universal Studios Florida, they seem to have a lot, but the other two parks, very interesting, especially in rainy, hot Florida, you think there'd be more indoor rides. You know, Epic only has one less indoor ride than Islands of Adventure, which is crazy, you know, because, you know, Islands of Adventure has all these outdoor rides. I still think that, both Epic and Islands of Adventure need some new indoor rides, but specifically, and I'm be clamoring about this till it happens at some Universal park, a nice long indoor boat ride like Pirates of the Caribbean, you know, that's like 10 minutes long, that really gets you out of the heat or the rain, but with animatronics. I'm begging. That's like the one ride type, one of the few they don't really have at any of their parks. They have like Singapore as a Kung Fu Panda thing, but that's pretty much it. I don't know why they don't build them, but here's hoping one of the expansions is a nice indoor boat ride.
Yeah, I think I agree, Wizard. I completely agree. I think Zelda would be a cool franchise for something like that, you know? And even Creature from the Black Lagoon or something. I think that was a concept initially.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they have options, you know, and that would be great. Those are kind of like everybody rides that everyone can go in. It's a nice way to beat the heat.
Yeah. With no height requirement. That's not the one. No height requirement indoor boat ride.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the Black Lagoon, but my ex-wife already has a job.
we got two ex-wife jokes. We're only 8 minutes in, George. You gotta pace yourself, bro.
It's getting spicy over here.
It's getting spicy. What say you, Simon? I'm sorry.
I'm sure I was going to say something about his ex-wife, but I already forgot.
I think I spotted her on the Monsters Unchained POV.
Oh man, you know, so it's funny. One of my coworkers actually went to Epic Universe today, and I texted him. I said, "Hey, how is Epic Universe?" And he goes, "Are you going to be at work tomorrow?" I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "Well, I got to tell you in person, but I had like a coming to Jesus moment." I was just like, is he trying to tell me that, like, what exactly happened at Epic Universe? He never divulged the information, but I'm really curious to what he has to say.
Really?
Yeah, because like
he sounds like a Wallin Ballin.
God bless Wallin Ballin, man. That guy loves Epic Universe.
But let me tell you, that guy has never been to Disney World until last year. And this was his first time going to Universal Studios Park. So I'm really interested to hear what his opinion is, because that's about as unbiased as you can get.
Yeah.
I've only been to Epic once so far, correct?
Yeah, I've only been once. I've thought about going again, and I could, but I'd want to go specifically for Battle at the Ministry. And right now, your chances of riding Battle at the Ministry are about as good as getting 2 photon torpedoes into the shaft tube of the Death Star. So
that's correct.
It's funny that you say that, because I was actually going to bring that up. To me, I think that's one of the biggest like operational hiccups that they're having right now with the Battle of the Ministry, because I mean, we all have our, you know, personal thoughts just on virtual queue in general. Like for how long that Cosmic Rewind was on virtual queue is ridiculous. But the way of how they're even going about doing it, the fact that it's basically all over the place. They give you specific times. It's not on those specific times. It could be 10, 15 minutes prior to that. Right. If you hit the button, it says you don't have it, but you could still actually have an opportunity to get it if you keep hitting the button. People who already rode it 6 times can go on it to a person who hasn't even experienced yet. Like, to me, that's like That's like an operations like nightmare.
Yeah,
It is.
and it's funny because it just shows how Universal Orlando and Hollywood are so different. Because Universal Hollywood handles their virtual line system very differently, and that's why I was excited for Universal Orlando's version because I thought it was gonna be the same thing. But it seems like there's still 3 drop times, but then instead of then everyone can get it, but there's still only 3 drop times. It's weird. Here in Hollywood, the way it worked for Super Nintendo World, which I know is a land versus a ride, but it's the same idea it's doing for Secret Life of Pets too, which is obviously not as cool of a ride as Battle of the Ministry. But instead of these drop times, it's the virtual queue was you can get one all day long, and the times would populate. You'd have to refresh, and times would populate all day long, but it wouldn't be like 3 times. So I was not confused, but I was shocked when they decided to do the 3 times like that, 11, 3, and 6, because I'm not over here in Hollywood. We're not used to that. We're used to just like virtual queue when it's activated. So you can get it all day long, and they populate all the way till like 9 or 10 o'clock at night. So it's so weird how in Orlando it's just vastly different. It's like a hybrid Disney system, hybrid Hollywood system, but it doesn't work out because you're mixing 2 systems at once. It's weird.
Well, I think the big problem is that it doesn't link your day ticket to the virtual queue component of the app.
And
So
that
they're not-
too,
they're not-
that's weird.
They're not talking to each other. And I mean,
Yeah.
I'm not a software engineer, but I would think that if they would just link your ticket to the virtual queue system, you probably solve 2 birds with 1 stone. One, you could solve the issue of, one person be able to ride 6 times in one day and one person not being able to ride at all. But then also you're not going to overload the system with everybody trying to get a virtual queue time, because it's going to basically tell everybody that already has been on once no for the rest of the day, which is going to be obviously the majority of the people that are in there, because it's going to prioritize people that haven't been on. So I don't know. Maybe they'll get that fixed before. What was that, buddy?
No, sorry. How does that work if a ticket's not linked to the app? How does that even work for a person to even, wouldn't the app recognize that a person would have to have a ticket to get into the park? Like, I don't understand how that.
Well, the ticket is linked. So for example, on the Universal app, your ticket is on the app, but it's not talking to the virtual queue system. They're operating independently. Like you can use it.
Weird. And that's how that one guy got it from his bedroom.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Like you can use it for park entrance. You can use it to get a virtual queue from your bedroom, from your house. But because it's not linked to certain other functions within the app, it's just created this discombobulated mess.
So like if I was going to Epic Universe on a day that I was like arriving into Florida, I could be at Orlando International and I could try for the virtual queue and get it even before I'm even in the proximity of the park.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Wow.
That's interesting. Okay. Now, Wizard, I want to ask you, like, do we know, like, is there an end date for this VQ for this thing, or is it kind of indefinite until they kind of iron out the kinks or what have you?
So, yeah, if all goes well, then by opening day, it'll be, well, hopefully it goes well where, by opening day, it's good. But hopefully at the very least, it'll be like maybe like through the summer. So the problem is, it's the way it almost like, I remember with Rise of the Resistance, I think specifically Disneyland's version, they installed those things like wrong, so the ride vehicles weren't sensing them, so they had to redo it. Same thing here with this Battle of the Ministry. There's like 12 or so ride vehicles that's currently going right now, and they have these stickers that I guess they're QR codes on the bottom. They're just like literally stickers. And they place them wrong, or they're going over, they're sensing them wrong, and so it keeps stopping the ride. So they can't run too many ride vehicles because they keep going over these stickers wrong, is what I'm hearing. So as soon as they can figure that out, then they should be able to run enough ride vehicles to actually open up the standby line. And so hopefully soon, because this ride wasn't even really supposed to open until fall, like September. But they obviously really wanted to get open for, because that would be like a bad look to have your big ride not open till the fall. So they tried as best they can, and so the virtual queue is what they're doing now. But I hope they can figure out this solution that is running a little better than before. So hopefully by late May, but certainly by hopefully the summertime, we can get
Would
that,
they be running
line
at full
going.
capacity anytime soon, or is that still not.
Well, that one, that full capacity, that's when the virtual queue will go away. So that's when you'll know that full capacity. And then the line itself can hold 7 hours worth of people. So then they should be like okay. But
The
And the
queue
smart-
itself has to be one of the great. I mean, I haven't been there, obviously, but what I've seen on video and pictures has to be one of the most breathtaking queues I've ever seen. I mean, that emerald green tile work and just the sheer
I
scope of
looked
that.
right out of the movie. I was like, wow, that's crazy. And I like the whole smoke metro flu effect.
I'm
That looks
very
pretty
curious
cool.
to see how a normie is going to take to this virtual queue. See, because
Me
us
too.
in like the realm of theme parks, like we understand it. We read the trades every day and the articles and how things are going. But to a normie that's just going to the park for a vacation with their family, it's like, oh, okay, virtual queue. Okay, so it's just like how it was with Tron and Cosmic Rewind. But then when they go into this thing and not even realize, that it's not what they're expecting, I'm very curious to see how people will take it.
I would guess it's less anger than the theme park nerds. I think the normies are more chill with stuff in general than we are. I think the normies will. I mean, obviously, there's going to be. I think there's going to be frustration, maybe here, but I think that the theme park diehard fans are way more sensitive and critical. I don't know. Am I off base with that, Slimer? You think, or you feel like I'm kind of?
No, I think you're pretty on point. I mean, and also it depends on if like you're a glass half full or glass half empty kind of a person. Like if you get to ride 11 out of the, how many rides are there? 11. All right. So there's 11 rides and 2 shows. If you get to ride 9 rides and all you miss is Battle at the Ministry, you had a pretty damn good day. You know what I mean?
Well, and I also think it depends on if this is a family that's traveling, then maybe not. If they're really looking forward to, like, say, if they have a kid that is a huge Harry Potter fan,
right.
That, and they spend money on airfare and they spend it on the hotel, and it's like, oh, well, we can't do that. I'm very curious to see operation wise, because with us as fans, we can say, hey, yeah, we can go back at any time, but especially with it being a park in Florida, that's where a lot of travelers are, for vacation, so I'm hoping, to Wizard's point, I hope that they can get it situated by the summertime, because I feel like if not, I don't know, I just feel like that there'll be a lot more disgruntled fans, which we won't know about it, because since they're normies, they're not going to get on our social media platforms and bitch and complain. They'll just bitch and complain to just to Universal, so.
And it's interesting because like you said, this is kind of like, I feel like the first real test of this, right? Because the other virtual queue stuff, whether it's Universal or there's Hagrid's, right, or Rise of the Resistance, those are like an existing theme park. So I feel like it'll be more frustrating because you've been probably on most of the other rides before, but this, like Simon said, it's like 12 or 11 brand new rides. So maybe it's not too much of a big deal for someone if they can't get the virtual queue, because there's 10 other things they've never been on, most likely never been on before. So it's very interesting, the dynamic on how that could play out.
Yeah, no, 100%. Now I want to ask, okay, so Slimer, your favorite land in this park, if I'm not mistaken, was it Nintendo? I think you and your wife spent a lot of time in there. Was that your favorite overall, or?
So Nintendo slaps you the hardest in the face with theming.
Yeah.
Like when you get into that land, you're just like, you just get punched in the face with like a big fucking fist of theming. And
like a big wet salmon across the face, like wham.
Salmon, that's right, slapping salmon. That one was probably the most surprising to me. I just didn't expect to react to the Nintendo land like I did. But you hear a lot of people saying that Isle of Berk is the most complete land. Yeah. And I think that what that means is it's like the most lived in, like when you go to the Nintendo land, you're going to a part of a Nintendo level, you know what I mean? Or they're maybe giving like the best of a bunch of Nintendo levels. I mean, even the bathrooms in the Nintendo land are themed to Super Mario Underwater. It's got the underwater Mario music. It's got the, the fish in the frames and whatnot. I mean, it's very highly themed. But Isle of Berk has more of like a lived-in feel to it, where Nintendo, you're just like, oh, I'm walking into the world, and there's like a whole bunch of Nintendo stuff going on. And then, like I told you last time, I never had an opportunity to go into Wizarding World Paris because there was really no reason for me to go, because I was enjoying every other land. But I'm assuming that I would love Paris. But for me, Paris is more grounded in reality. I really like the more like fantasy, supernatural and fantasy aspects to lands more so than just something that's a replica of Paris. But I'm not knocking that land. I'm just saying it's something I haven't experienced. So I really can't speak to how it's going to make me feel. I could come out and say it's my favorite land. Who knows?
But so right now it's kind of a toss up for you, like Nintendo and Isle of Berg probably.
Yeah, and I liked Darkmoor. Darkmoor actually is best at night. Not to say that it's not good in the day, because there's a lot to see and do. But that land really thrives at night, and because that park closes at 8:15, or right when the sun goes down, 9 o'clock. So the sun goes down at 8:50. So you got about 45 minutes to really enjoy the park. You gotta really like figure out what it is that you want to do. Do you want to see Darkmoor? Do you want to go see Isle of Berk, which again is a really awesome nighttime land? And same thing with Wizarding World Paris. So you got to be really picky choosy about how you're going to spend the last 45 minutes in a park that was really designed to like blow you away at night. And so I really didn't get the opportunity to experience that land, or actually the park, really the way that it was supposed to be experienced. But yeah, Darkmoor is cool. Like you can definitely tell that there's some parts that were cut out of the budget. If you guys remember, the original concept art had like a graveyard review kind of a show that was cut out of it. Personally, I don't think that that's a good idea. I think that's a live performance that should probably be saved for Universal Studios. But being that they already have live performances in two lands, Isle of Berk and Wizarding World Paris, I can see them having a live show in every land just to kind of spread out the crowd, especially if this thing's going to be putting out, bringing in a lot of guests. But maybe they'll be saving that live performance for a Zelda land. I could see them doing something like that.
And speaking of that, semi-related, people have asked me, is Dark Universe coming here or whatever? And I always say, if it does come here, I always say, to make it like not a direct clone, I think that if it comes to Hollywood should get that original live performance venue that in our Darkmoor, if we were to ever get it. That way it's differentiates them a little bit. No rumors, this is my hope. But Monsters Unchained and then the live show, I feel like that'd be a great Hollywood
And I think
land.
that would fit very well with Universal Hollywood.
Yeah.
I'm with you, Wizard. I would rather have something a little bit different, not just a carbon copy. Plus, if you have the Monsters Unchained, the show would take the place of the Curse of the Werewolf coaster.
Yeah.
Florida.
Now, Wizard, you are going. You said you're going in January or February. Now, if the hours of operation stay the same, which they probably won't, I think they're probably going to extend it. But let's just say, for argument's sake, it does close at 9 when you get there in January. You'll actually get quite a few hours then in the dark.
It'll be like winter, so it'll be like dark at like 5 or 6. So I hope we get at least a couple hours. That'll be pretty nice to see. Hopefully they'll have a nighttime show by then, and then it'll be even better.
Now, Wizard, what land are you going into this? And you're very knowledgeable of this park. You know it inside and out. But what land are you looking forward to the most?
Okay, so it's very interesting. What land? I am a massive How to Train Your Dragon fan, so I'm super excited to go on Isle of Berk and really go on the roller coaster and just meet all the people and see all the dragons. But I'm excited for Monsters Unchained too. But I think Isle of Berk, that looks like a really cool spot to just sit there and chill for like a few hours, not do anything, just people watch. And I feel like that's what I really want to do. Just sit there and watch the coaster go over the water there. Oh, gorgeous.
I wouldn't be surprised if they brought another live show to Isle of Berk. So it's really weird. So when you walk in, there is a lagoon with some Viking ships inside of it. But what's really weird is like there's steps going into the water.
Oh,
and I think that they've set it up so that if they wanted to do a live show out there, they could do that, which I think would be
pretty cool.
Oh, I think that'd be fantastic. I mean, because they have the space for it, the way that certain like docks and ships are positioned, like it's almost like they can have like their own like little like action adventure, spectacular right in the Isle of Berk land. So I'm really excited to see what that. There's so much potential with this land. And I was scrolling through X the other day, as I always do, and there was a.
Well, that was your first mistake, Slimer, scrolling through X.
But there was a Universal creative who's working on one of these projects, and he said that when it comes to the lighting effects, that we haven't seen anything yet as far as like what Epic Universe can do. And I think it was you, Wizard, who had mentioned that they're even going to maybe even have a projection show on Helios, because that's what they do over in and let me tell you, looking at Helios from inside the park, if they don't do a projection show on the hotel, I'd be extremely surprised, because it would be freaking awesome. I mean, you're talking about something 5 times bigger than the castle.
Oh yeah, because you can take with projection mapping, you can transform this whole Helios into other things. You can have like the warp pipes for Mario, all that cool stuff. It could turn into like Isle of Berk, but the building itself looks like it changes. I mean, there's so much potential there. You can have the vines growing up like for Darkmoor and stuff. Oh my god, it'd be bad, dude. That'd be so dope. That would be something. That'd be sick. And they could do it even with the windows. I think. I don't think that would be a problem. Yeah, as long as the projectors are faced in a way that don't go directly in, maybe like off to the side or something, I think we should be good.
Well, not only that, but go ahead.
And depending on how big and cover, like depending how much the projection covers everything, that would be the perfect time for people to walk around naked in their rooms.
There you go. Exactly, Wizard. Exactly. Exactly. George, you hear that?
If I was staying there and it was disrupting like my time being in a room, I could be naked. Like I'm opening up that window. It's like pipe the fuck down. Like I'm trying to sleep here. Like I just let it all hang on. I don't give a shit.
You're gonna spread your cheeks and fog up the window.
George is gonna wave his thing around like the Burning Blade Tavern at everybody.
Oh man, that's rough. That's rough. Oh my god. Okay, well I think we'll pivot now to Universal FanFest out here.
I do have a question for Slimer though.
Yeah.
I've got his Helios stay. I gotta hear it. It seems like there's some growing pains there. I gotta hear the growing pains. What can be improved? What did you like? Was it worth the price? Because I feel like based on what I've seen from rooms and stuff, like I stayed at a Portofino Bay room, and it looked about like 2 times bigger than a Helios room. I know they both were standard rooms, so I feel like what I suspected all along was the perk there is like really like the price. Like the price is just to walk into Epic and be right there, like in-store hotel, but not really like a resort type of feel. What do you? How was Helios to you, Slime?
So Helios is a gorgeous hotel. It's absolutely wonderful. I put it up there with like Destino Tower, maybe Animal Kingdom Lodge. Maybe not quite as nice as Animal Kingdom Lodge, but let's say Destino Tower equivalent. Once you walk in, the first thing you notice is you're walking in and you see a nice panoramic view of the park with the back of Apollo shooting his arrow. Okay. Archimedes. And that was a wow moment in and of itself. So they designed it such a way that when you walk in, the view into the park is what steals the show. And by design, they didn't overdevelop all the Greek architecture, so that way you could focus on looking out into the park. And I actually thought about that a little bit more, because I was like, why did they make Grand Destino Tower so beautiful and then Helios is like scaled down while still beautiful? And then I was just like, oh, Art 101. You don't want to take away from the main body of focus that you want your audience to look at. So like if you want somebody to focus on one thing, you're going to make sure that's the standout thing. And that's why everything's kind of scaled down and theming inside all those. Again, beautiful, but they want you to focus on that outside. When it comes to the rooms, you're not getting anything special. The rooms in Stella Nova and Terra Luna are actually bigger because they actually have sofas in them, and here they don't in Helios.
Did you have a park facing room or the other side? Oh, nice.
Yeah, it was a great view. I mean, $1 million view. We actually got it when it was at a discounted rate, so we paid like $350 plus tax or $340 plus tax, which is a huge deal.
Not bad.
It's a huge deal. Prices right now are $800 and $900. I don't ever see myself paying $800 or $900. Although I can imagine
it's pricey.
Yeah, I mean, like if you're a surgeon, it's like spending $9. But I'm not a surgeon, so $900 is $900. There is no relative amount there, but it was good. I think guest services obviously has a lot to work on because I hired a lot of people that never worked in hospitality. So training needs to be a little bit better. They need more luxury training right out of the gate. And again, I'm only saying this as somebody that's worked in customer service and sales for over 15 years. So I have a lot of experience in terms of like how to speak to people on a customer facing environment. But that's not something they can't remedy because I've had pretty much good experiences with guest services all throughout Universal Studios, pretty much my entire life going there. So it'll get fixed. The problem is that when you're charging anywhere from like, let's say $500 to $900, you don't have a lot of wiggle room. Like you can't ask for forgiveness and be like, well, we're working on it. You have to come in ready to rock and roll because your guests are expecting to get deluxe service. I mean, they call it a deluxe, resort. So, with that being said, I think that if you can afford it, absolutely stay at Helios. Absolutely. It is gorgeous in and out. The gardens in front of it you're not going to get anywhere else. Like it blows everything else away. I mean, in terms of the aesthetics, there's maybe like one or two Disney hotels that can like maybe keep up with it or better. But I mean, the access point to one of the most beautiful, most technological parks ever it's a good deal. Like if you can do it.
Yeah.
Just understand that if you're going to be going within the next, 30 to 60 days, you might experience some growing pains and you're just going to have to accept that.
Well, and here's the thing too, Slimer, and I think it's really important to say this because you got a little bit of shit like for the drink stuff and all that on social media, right? Like the, yeah.
Oh, Slimer, was there a sand in your shower, by the way, before OG
no, my room experience was just fine. But when it comes to making critiques, Universal is not going to be more open to critiques than they are right now.
100%, Slimer. And that's what I was actually I was going to say the exact same thing. I'm glad you brought that up. Right now is the perfect time to bring up these critiques because like you said, Slimer, they are easy fixes. I mean, the training, the drinks, I mean, these are easy things to fix. And right now it's good to let Universal know, hey, and you're constructive, you know what I'm saying? You're being constructive about it. You let them know and then they have that feedback and they can do it even better. And that's one thing that Universal has. They are really good at that. George just got a survey. Wizard, you probably get them all the time too, but like George, you filled out that survey and they were asking
someone that writes them.
What?
Right.
Oh, yeah.
I have my second laptop. I'm getting ready for some new surveys right now.
There we go. But the level of detail that they were asking you about FanFest, right? With like the audio and all that stuff, Universal's really good at sort of getting feedback and then taking action on that feedback. So yeah, if you go to Helios and hey, the drinks weren't up to par, or maybe the customer service wasn't that great or whatever, it's good to let them know because they do listen over there. And right now with the new park, they're really hypersensitive to all this feedback, good and critical. You know what I'm saying?
By the way, I've spoke to several representatives within Lowe's and Universal after my experience, and they were very apologetic. They wanted to know how they could accommodate me. But at the same time, they're very understanding and they know that they're working things out. But at the same time, they did appreciate my business and they know that it's a work in progress. They're not oblivious to the fact. They're not trying to make excuses. They never made an attempt to. But at the same time, though, like every restaurant, every attraction, every after hours event has gone through this and continues to go through an ever evolving process of trying to improve the guest experience. Like, do you think California Grill came out first day? An amazing restaurant? Hell no. That had growing pains just like everything else. So
they all do. Yeah, they all do.
Yeah.
Yeah. The DVC tower over here at Disneyland Hotel was a disaster the first week.
Oh yeah, definitely. But now it's just fine.
And now it's just fine. So,
no hotel is a perfect stay until you get the sand in the shower. So that Disney or Universal, you gotta get that sand shower.
You got to get the sand shower.
And if you get it where it shouldn't be, just ask the Italiano. He's got a loofah. He can get it.
Yeah, George can help you out.
That's fantastic. Absolutely. Just ring George.
Candy. I always have it in my back pocket.
I was referring to that 6-day shadow of yours, but okay.
Mr. Busch Gardens over here, huh, George? So let's talk a little FanFest now, because this event is honestly the GOAT. This event, I've been praising this thing for like over a week now. Like,
He even went 2 times.
I win twice. I absolutely love FanFest. I think Universal did an amazing job. I mean, because I'm really honestly used to a lot of the Disney after hours and the Universal stuff. Now, I did HHN recently in October, which was my first time in like 20 plus years. I came out of that event just as impressed. FanFest, equally as impressive. Universal has been hitting home runs with these events, you know? And George, will start with you, man. I mean, you went twice too. What were your thoughts on it? Because I know you've been to more of the Disney ones than I have, but you know, the Disney events, man, they just fall way, way short. And these Universal, they're hungry, dude. Like what they offered us with the Star Trek experience, the D&D stuff, the Hill Valley. Like, I'm getting goosebumps even talking about it. But like being at Hill Valley and watching that projection show on the clock tower and all that stuff, it's incredible stuff. But what were your overall thoughts? Because I know everyone doesn't watch every video.
Absolutely. So
even though we've made 7 videos on this,
of course,
Just today.
Today, yes.
Actually goes over to Citro Central. Check out what Giant Peter Show calls our Universal trilogy, which is basically our bar chat, our walk and talk, and night 2 of FanFest. So
right.
we recorded all that.
And if you watch my video on FanFest, you may catch George calling a pathway a walking path.
That's exactly right, Mr. East Coast. Yeah, I'm telling you, man. You can tell George and Slimer that they're not from California. We don't say walking path out here.
I think I got that clip in my video, so check it out.
So, in any case, starting actually with the Disney events, what I've noticed recently, especially from going back to back of events between Sweethearts Night, 90s Night, and Star Wars Night, what I've noticed that Disney does a lot with those events is they basically it's one big photo op. They literally turn the park into photo ops everywhere, but it's just themed to whatever the storyline of the event is. And then they have the specialty foods, which some of them are really great, some of them not so great. But sometimes it's the same food, but they just rename it to whatever.
Give it a different color.
That too, yeah. So,
Bippity boppity blue.
If you want a Hulk muffin, they make it green. You know, whatever you want. You know?
Which I will say the Yoda beignets. I'm sorry, Disney, for Star Wars Night were some of the most disgusting things that I've ever had in my life. It was very earthy. Very and then the what is it, the matcha, whatever, the dipping sauce didn't make it any better. But anyway, I digress. But with Universal, what I love what they do with their events, just comparing to HHN and FanFest, I love how they can incorporate a theme, but it could be completely different than what the last event was. When you go to HHN, it feels like, okay, it's Halloween on steroids. They have all these haunted mazes, they have all these festivities and what have you. But then when it becomes FanFest, it doesn't give off the fact of if something is just being reskinned. It's like when you feel FanFest, it's like, okay, it is FanFest. You have Star Trek, you have Dungeons and Dragons. The fact that they take us down into the studio lot and they literally recreated Hill Valley 1955 and literally the birthplace of where they filmed that movie. And you have the music piped up, you have the projections, you have the characters, you have the memorable scenes of the movie. My only critique, and I wish that I put it in the survey, which I didn't, because I didn't really pay attention to it, because it was like I was so excited the first night. But after the second night of FanFest, and maybe Wizard, maybe you can contest to this, but unless you're actually really close to the performers when they're doing the scenes, you can't really hear them. So, and then plus they have the music piped up, which is cool how they have the music. But I wish that when they're ready to do the scenes, die down the music a little bit, and have the performers mic'd. That was my only critique with Back to the Future.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I feel like they can be that too with Back to the Future, but also with the depending on who you are with the other two experiences, it may be a little bit hard to see the characters. Like sometimes if you're not in the front for Star Trek and D&D, it's kind of hard to see what's going on, especially with Star Trek, because the other ones they kind of go on a platform. But yeah, I do agree with that. And my other one critique with FanFest, and it's more of a universal thing in general, but boy, I tried one food item from there and it was not good. And there were ribs. I was like, my goodness. I was like, I wanted the ribs. I was like, I 3 broomsticks is open. Next time I'm gonna get ribs from there because they're still the best ribs on property. And it's one of my favorite theme park ribs ever. But yeah, I tried the ribs from the Sanji Galley, which is normally La Cocina Mexicana, and even the sauce that they dumped it on. I was like, dang, I'm hungry, so I'll finish it. But this is no bueno, and I usually don't care about food. I'm not like a food connoisseur, so if I'm saying it's not good, you probably shouldn't eat it.
That's such a minority thing to do, to finish something you don't like to eat because you don't want to waste it.
Exactly. See, we gotta finish all our food. We all know here we're all minorities. Okay, Italians know too. Italians finish their food. I know Italian family.
You're going to bed hungry if you don't finish that plate.
Oh my god!
Hey, you've seen Everybody Hates Chris, you know.
Absolutely.
But yeah, I remember taking George and OG in the Star Trek thing, and then you guys were shocked when I said, yeah, there's a Halloween Horror Nights house here every night because it looks so different. Can you believe that's where the A Quiet Place house was that you were standing in last year? It's now totally Star Trek, and they make it look so different.
Well, and that thank you, and that's actually a really good example of what I was saying. Like it never looks reskinned to something. Like it's like when you look at Star Trek, it looks like Star Trek. You would never think that was the set of A Quiet Place walking through that haunted maze.
Well, and one of the things that Universal does really well, I think, with FanFest is one of the things, if you go back to the 90s Night video we did with Tommy Toon, one of my biggest complaints about 90s Night is that you really wouldn't even know it was 90s Night when you walked in because they don't have any of the characters walking around. But when you go to FanFest, the first thing in that first Buena Vista Street Hollywood corridor, you see all the One Piece characters. I think her name is Nami, and then the I don't know all the names, but they're all chilling there, and it hits you immediately. You feel the vibes all over this park. And when Disney does these after hours events, you don't really feel it. Everything's really behind these velvet ropes. You got to get this wristband to meet Darkwing Duck. You got to get 2 hours before the thing even starts, and everything just felt more accessible at FanFest, where even you go down to Destination Hill Valley and you got Marty and Doc walking around. You got the Leah Thompson character walking around, and Biff. I know our wizard. You were having fun with Biff when we were there.
Oh yeah.
See, and that's fun, man. And that's what makes this event it feels so organic and just a real celebration of nerd culture. You know what I'm saying? And it didn't feel corporate. Even though it is corporate, I get it. It's Comcast, but it didn't feel corporate. Disney's events feel like a corporate party, if that makes sense.
It's really amazing that Universal has been able to tap into an underground. What do you want? There's just they're an underground kind of an event and experience, even though they're owned by Comcast, which is a multi-billion-dollar.
It's wild. Well, the fact that you go into the Kung Fu Panda Theater. Mm-hmm. And they play that Jujutsu Kaisen film, mm-hmm. and it's entirely in Japanese, bro, with subtitles. Mm-hmm. I was like, this is so cool. But see, that's the thing. Universal has that kind of that little bit of an edge where they're willing to. They have the kahungas to do that. Disney wouldn't do that. Disney would never put a show in there that for an American audience that's all in Japanese. They don't have the guts to do that,
even though they preach diversity.
Exactly.
That's right.
But they would never do that. You would never see that at Universal. The whole show, it was all in Japanese.
And the most important thing is, this is obviously the event's just starting. But even for Horror Nights, it's still cheaper than Oogie Boogie Bash. The Horror Nights usually $99 to $100. But yeah, this guy was only $79 to $84 if you just got no express pass, which you still don't really need it. And if you got early access is only $99, which is like over $100 cheaper than some of the Disney After Dark events, which is crazy to me. But people like those, so it makes sense. Fire Disney keep raising the price.
I will say this to like the risk factor that Universal does, which I do really appreciate it. However, I feel like it fits Universal. I don't think I would really want Disney to take that kind of risk.
But yeah, when I say risk, I don't necessarily mean they have to do like Chucky stuff. Like I don't want like that. But what I'm saying is risk where like our idea with like it's 90s night. So lean into the hello.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Go that extra mile of absolutely. Yeah.
Well, I saw a clip from Star Wars Night. Yes, I think it was yesterday, and it was interesting. And I don't know, like I never been to the event, so someone just posted a clip, and there's a whole bunch of people with lightsabers, and that looked really cool.
Yeah,
they're dancing. Cool. They're dancing to like this Bad Bunny song and these other songs that weren't Star Wars. And I was confused of the way it's Star Wars night. I get you have a DJ, but like you at least play like Star Warsy music or like it's remixes of Star Wars stuff. And again, I don't know what else happened. There was just a short little clip, so they could be Star Wars, everything else, everywhere else. But it was weird that they're like doing like regular club music or like Bad Bunny.
That's weird.
I was like, I was like, this is what happens. I don't know, but yeah, I thought that was strange.
If you go on YouTube, you could see DJs mixing up like Duel of the Fates and stuff, like cool.
Yeah,
like
that
mixes.
Sounds really awesome.
Yeah,
I hope they would play
the music in the Disney After Hours, not even just with Star Wars. Like I don't know who picks the music, but yeah, it never sticks with the theme. But I will say this: after doing Sweethearts Night, 90s Night, Star Wars Night, more so probably for next year, I will not be doing them again. I might do Star Wars Night again, just because I felt like out of the three, that one
that seems to be the best.
Yeah. But even to then, they didn't do the First Order March, which they always had. And that's another thing too, is and if Disney does do a brand new After Hours event, I will check it out, because it always seems like when they bring in something new, they go balls to the wall. They go all out. They have the fireworks. They have this. They have that. But then if they bring it back again the following year, it's
half what it was. Huh?
Yeah. It's crazy. It's that bait and switch, right? Like get you hooked. Oh man, this is dope. And then they get you to buy the ticket the next year. It's like, what happened here? Like the 90s night, the first time they did it, like 5 or 6 years ago, they had this really cool Disney afternoon fireworks show.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, and then they just cut that out. I'm like,
do you guys? Let me ask you this: do you think that's a Bob Iger thing? Because I've noticed that ever since Bob Iger became CEO, he's been more like and I'm not knocking Bob Iger. I realize that he's like a good CEO. I'm not knocking his ability as a CEO. However, he seems to be more like quarterly earnings driven, as opposed to like having a vision. And so because everything is based off of quarterly earnings from quarter over quarter, year over year, everybody's under pressure to try to cut operating expenses. And that's why they always reel back, all the operating costs of the theme parks. They try to improve the margins and make the shareholders happier, from quarter to quarter.
And that's why in the case of Disney, I always felt like having two dual CEOs. And I know a lot of people aren't for it, but I always feel like with the way of how Disney is that well-oiled machine, to have a creative and a business person, that's where it would go hand in hand. Because in a way, I kind of understand like what you're saying with that, because even to Iger and during his first run as CEO, that was off the back of Michael Eisner just kind of like running it by himself after Wells, untimely passing and what have you. But it started to seem like that it kind of was like moving into that corporate realm, even though again, it is a company, it needs to have like some sort of corporate status. But I could definitely see, and that would be very telling to the fact of whenever Iger steps down and someone else comes in, if they have a different vision of that. I'm curious.
I'm kind of like I might depart with you guys a little bit on this, because I don't know if like Iger with after hours events, I don't know if they're like a big enough thing for him to like get too involved. I think that this is more of like a Josh thing. In my
Well,
opinion.
yeah, and it could be a mandate from Josh. It could be a mandate from Jeff Valley. It could be, a board thing. But I think predominantly what it is they want to improve the margins quarter over quarter. And if that's something that everybody's on the same page on, which I would think that if you're trying to steer the ship, you'd want everybody to be on the same page. But this has been happening for a long time, and it's happened in more than just after hours events. It started with Mike Fink keelboats, and then getting rid of the Pocahontas canoes, and then getting rid of this, and then they used to have the colonial Americans marching through Liberty Square. Where did that go? I mean, there's just so many things that they've reeled back over the decades. It's not even it's like not even the same park anymore, and it's
oh, sorry, go ahead, bro.
and it is just overflowed into the after hours as well.
I think if it did reach Iger to that point, I think it would be not Iger necessarily like bringing up the after hours events. I feel like he would be then talking to Josh, talking to X,
Right.
Y, and Z, and saying, how can we like cut down this and how can we cut down that? And then it's up to Josh to kind of go back with his team and then say, okay, I think it's after our events.
Because remember,
cut off the tip a little bit, circumcise them a little bit.
because remember at Disneyland, it was a few years ago. You guys probably remember they were testing that after hours Christmas party thing. Remember it lasted like one season, but and everyone was worried because if it was successful, then things that are normally included in your park ticket, like the parade, would probably be moved to this after hours Christmas party. And it'll be very disappointing. So I'm glad that it failed. But yeah, they do like to try to sneak these up charges randomly, whatever they can get. It seems like so. Yeah, you gotta watch out. You gotta watch out with the wallet. That's like the one time Disney people voted with their wallet and didn't make sure that Christmas thing never came back, because I think they finally understood, but they don't. Then they stopped and they keep voting with their wallet. They keep spending money anyway.
Oh yeah, no, yeah. Disney people are notorious for not voting with their wallet. It's actually very frustrating.
Well, unfortunately, I will say as far as the after hour events, Disney, I love you. I'm biased to Disney. But just compared to what I've seen at Universal, unless you fix the issue, I will not be returning to any Disney after hour events. As far as I don't know how it is in Florida. I don't know with the Jollywood Nights or what have you. But as far as out here at Disneyland, unless they change a lot of things and update them and give us something more to what that ticket costs, other than Oogie Boogie, because I still enjoy Oogie Boogie. And then, as I said, I might try a different if they do a new event next year. But as far as Sweethearts Night, if they bring back 90s Night, if even, and Star Wars Night, who even knows where that's at? Because I'm hearing that they're trying to give the tickets away to cast members.
That's
so
crazy.
Yeah. So I hope they actually learn from that, the fact that no one's coming to Star Wars Night, or not a lot of people. That so much we have to give these tickets away, and then they have the FanFest nights. Hopefully that gives them the kick in the butt, like the Wizarding World of Harry Potter did, to give them that kick in the butt to bring back, not even step up their game, but go back to their original game, and provide a nice value of experience for next year's after hours events for $169.
Well, if I may, what I think would resolve the problem is if they got away from the formula that they've been utilizing for over a decade now, which is for special events. What do? They introduce new characters. They have new themed lighting packages. They'll bring in themed music, and then they'll bring in meet and greets, and then they'll throw in some special event buckets you can only get during the event. And it's the repeat of that every single special event. It doesn't matter what it is.
True.
Buckets, lights, meet and greets, special projection show for everything. It doesn't matter if it's Star Wars, doesn't matter if it's 90s Night, it doesn't matter what it is. Oogie Boogie makes it not so scary. It's too predictable. The formula works so good for them, and they're still able to hit their quarterly numbers. That is why Disney is emboldened to do it. Whereas Universal Studios, right, they have a very close partnership with their Monster Shop at the production studio, right? And they come in and they spend millions of dollars, and they bring in all the best latex artists and makeup artists, and they create and they play with different concepts every single year, and people that want different things will do that. But they're putting they're marrying the parks and the studio in a way that Disney is not, and I don't understand why, because Disney has a studio, but I think what it is the company has become so separated. The Walt Disney Studio and Disney theme parks, they're so bifurcated that in terms of any sort of collaboration, they just don't have the channels to talk the way that Universal Studio does, and that's how Universal is able to bring these amazing after hours events.
And we have a hard out, but real quick, one last point I just want to say too, that's a brilliant point, Slimer. And that's one of the things I really love about FanFest is that beautiful weaving of like almost like an HHN style event, but then the creative use of like their backlot and their movie sets and stuff like that. So it's like they take from the movie side, but then they're also learning from that theme park side, and it's like that perfect hybrid, and it's chef kiss, baby. It's perfect. But we do have a hard out. We got to get out of here. But Mr. Theme Park Wizard, he's only 7 subs away. If you are not subscribed to Theme Park Wizard, you better subscribe right now. Get this man to 6,000. Wizard, where can everybody find you at social media, sir?
You can find me on Instagram, Blue Sky, and Twitter at Theme Park Wizard, and on YouTube at Theme Park Wizard, where we're now only 6 subscribers away. Oh boy.
6. Come on, get on it, everybody. Go subscribe right now. Slimer, where can everybody find you on social media, sir?
Yeah, I feel like I'm on a Jerry Lewis telethon, but you can find me. Hey, lady! You can find me on X at SlimeSquare84. You can find me right here on Orange Grove 55.
There we go. And I just got a call from Bob Iger, Wizard. You're at 5 now, buddy. That's
right.
Mr. Italiano, where can everybody find you in your 6-day beard, sir?
Absolutely. And really quick, Slimer, when you said Jerry Lewis telephone, the only thing it reminded me of was a scene in Scary Movie 3 when Leslie Nielsen says, "Jerry's kid's my ass."
Yeah. Well, you come from an Italian family, so I can imagine like your mom probably watched all the Jerry Lewis telethons.
Oh, absolutely. Like late at night, they all just like sat up and like watched it. Oh God. My uncle, like compared to like, that's a whole show in itself. Like we could talk about like he used to Costello and all that good stuff. But any case, you can find me on X, formerly known as Twitter, at Disney George. You can also find me on Instagram, Threads, and Blue Sky under the Disney Italiano. And of course, you can find me right here on my home base on Orange Grove 55 with Citrus Corner with all that sweet, juicy, but sometimes sticky Disney news and info. And you can also check out my new channel.
Sticky.
Sticky and that Busch Garden sticky.
It's Busch Garden sticky. There we go. We're sticky.
Oh, and you can just find me also on my new YouTube channel, Citrico Central, sister channel to Orange Grove 55.
There he is. All right, everybody. Thank you for watching this episode of Universal Guy 64. We do appreciate you. Have a wonderful day. Take it easy.
Thank you for watching OG55. If you aren't already, consider becoming a member today.